How did you tell Brian Cody?
How did I tell Brian? Yeah, just rang him there. Was it last Thursday morning? I think it was. I just rang him and had decided, yeah, look, I'll give him a call here now. Rang him. No, it wasn't a long phone call. Probably lasted about a minute. But I was very grateful for the few words we spoke while we were on the phone. Again, Brian's the manager, and we never had a very personable relationship in that we weren't having cracks and having a joke when we go into a dressing room. It was very much business, and I always respected that. But I suppose this minute of an opportunity at the end where I just, obviously said thanks for everything, thanks for the opportunities and so on. And he said thanks to me in return, which, straight away I laughed during the week because I rang or sent a message to David Herity during the week because obviously Herity had said that, Brian didn't say thanks to me when I left. So when I was on the phone, I didn't know what way the phone call would go. And I said, nobody else popped into my head except when Brian said thanks to me, I thought of David Herity. And Herity was absolutely, he was delighted I thought of him, I suppose, in one respect. But it was it was funny in that you can't weigh off as to how these things would go. But, I was very happy once I hung up the phone. I appreciated the few things that Brian said to me, and, that was really it. There wasn't very much to it.
Yeah, that just seems to be his way. There is a distance with his players. They're his foot soldiers, and he's the boss, and that's the deal.
Yeah, it's the way, I suppose, Brian sees it, and different managers operate in different ways. And I think, you only have to look at, I suppose, hurling alone. You can look at Gaelic football as well. Different managers have different styles, and, some are very charismatic and some stand back a small bit. And, Brian's way has clearly been successful over the years. And look, I mean, okay, he does, there is a line between you and Brian, but at the same time, he has been great to me over the years and great to me, giving me the opportunities. And I would have felt I was a player that, Brian, I suppose I got on well with Brian over the years, and there was never anything there at all that I would have felt, any sort of, that there wasn't anything but a good kind of working relationship there with Brian. So that's the way Brian works, and I've always respected that. And, it was no different once we finished. It was the same relationship.
Well, when you're being picked in 49 of 50 championship matches, it's a pretty straightforward deal.
Yeah, look, it's funny that you're saying that. I never thought of it like that. I think the only way you can probably achieve that is not by thinking of it as, I never thought I'd hurl 50 or 49 or whatever it was championship matches for Kilkenny. You're really dealing with it year on year, and, injury comes into it. And I think maybe the injury against Dublin in 2013 was the one I missed. And so, look, different things like that. Other players have been very unlucky with injuries and probably would have surpassed that really in their time. I've been just very fortunate with injuries. Been very fortunate, I suppose, with form. A lot of that is down to myself and working hard. But it's great to be able to walk away saying I was involved that much. And I suppose to be said in the same sentence as TJ Reid doesn't mean I'm as skillful as him. But it's great to see that there is a sentence that you can put Paul Murphy and TJ Reid in the same sentence. So I may hold on to that. I can tell my grandkids that anyway.
Absolutely. So in 10 years, a lot of ups and downs. Say for Cody, first of all, and I want to ask you about your teammates and some of the years, but say for Cody, is there an example of him standing by you or being good to you or helping you out in your life in some way? And then equally, is there an example of you getting on the wrong side of Cody somewhere along the line?
I suppose being good to me. He was always very understanding of my job in the Defence Forces. We all have jobs, I think, that as amateur sports people, as it would be, that there's crossover, and there's days you can't go to training, and there's days that, maybe you can get a bit of leverage at work. And thankfully, the Defence Forces and Brian have been great to me over the years. So Brian was very understanding in terms of my job, and even the likes of, I went overseas twice within my career, and he was understanding that, look, I'm going to miss a league campaign, but he was understanding the reasons I had to do this, that it was for my professional development and for my career. So he never held that against me, and it was brilliant. Stood by me, I suppose, in 2014, we hurled Galway up in Tullamore, and Johnny Glynn, I think it was marking Johnny Glynn towards the end of that match or the second half or so on. Johnny got a few balls, and, things didn't really go my way for the last half hour of that game. We got a draw, and we had to go back up and play him the following week. And, Brian just took me aside leaving the dressing room and said, look, that was one game, half an hour, you can go back out the following week and you're capable of great things. And it was, again, it was probably 15, 20 seconds, but, it was a launch pad really for me to go back the following week. I think I caught the first ball against Johnny Glynn, and which is, again, no mean feat. He's a great player, very strong in the air. And I think the fact that Cody kind of gave me that little bit of a talk afterwards in the dressing room was the launching pad. So he certainly put the arm around me at times. I don't think I ever got on the bad side of him, to be honest. My attitude towards training, I always loved training. I always loved making the sacrifices and loved hard training sessions and not giving up in training. So I think I appealed to Cody in that regard. I don't think I can't remember an incident where I got on the bad side of him or where he had to pull me in or say anything like that. So there was never anything in that regard.
Yeah.
There was any bad experience or that, that he had to give me a clip around the ear to maybe get down a peg or two.
Herity is listening at home right now, muttering teacher's pet to the radio, I hope you know.
Who's that, David Herity?
Yeah. Yeah.
Herity, yeah. Don't worry. Herity is very quick to hear. If someone's talking about David now, if I'm giving out about him, my phone, I'm sure, is hopping here beside me. But it's good to hear David is listening anyway.
That example of him telling you after the Galway game, listen, in the dress, even immediately, look, it's 1.5 hour, you'll go again next week and you'll do fine, is incredibly shrewd. It's incredibly incisive bit of management. It saves you hours of stressing, am I going to even play next weekend, sleepless nights, and gives you, I'd say, to walk out of the stadium that day feeling confident is an achievement on his part. So moments like that maybe give us a glimpse of the talent he so clearly has.
Yeah, I suppose he chooses words carefully, and he chooses, I suppose, his praise carefully also as well, in that, praise is obviously a great thing to give a player, and, some players need a small bit of praise at the right time to build them up, and, some players, maybe when things are going well, hold back and praise a small bit just to keep them grounded and different things. So there's different ways to play it. I think, obviously, because at that time he was, Cody would have a way of standing back from players that, because he even gave me 15 seconds there of saying, look, it's grand. If he was overcoming too much with praise to me over the years, that moment wouldn't have meant as much. But certainly the fact that he took a moment to say, listen, everything's okay, you're grand, I know what you're capable of, on you go. That was enough, because he does choose how he approaches players very, he does think about it, and he does, he doesn't overdo it too much. So when he does do it, obviously, a player does react positively to it. And certainly that is an instant where I did react positively to just, something as small as 15 seconds of a small bit of talking to.